Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Zach, and this past week, or 2 weeks really, have been extremely busy here at Columbia, but we've been working on our big 8 to 12 projects. It's kind of like the final exam for our first year, pretty much, and so we've all been running around, and so I just wanted to say that I haven't been able to work on We Have a Show all that much this past week, and so I'm going to extend the deadline for everyone else to submit to our second episode of We Have a Show about sports. So we have one more week to send us your sketches, your anecdotes, your stories, your writing, your art, and please tweet them all to @WeHaveAShow and use the hashtag #WeHaveAShow. But I want to send this video out for this week because all month long we've been competing with Game of Thrones. And every single Sunday, I post a video to you guys, and it just happens to be right around the time that Game of Thrones is premiering on HBO for the night, and it's a terrible decision on my part to do that. I don't know what we were thinking, why we thought Sunday night was a good idea, but HBO has owned Sunday nights until tonight because it was rough. It was a little difficult, not because of what you're thinking. And I'm throwing this out here now. And so I'm not even going to bother saying spoiler alert, because if you are watching this video and you see the title of this video and you're still upset by the fact that I say that Jon Snow is dead, I really, really can't help you there. And first off, I just want to preface this by saying that, you know, I know that Game of Thrones is based on the source material by George R.R. Martin and the Song of Ice and Fire, and I get it. It's a series of books he's been writing for literally years, and HBO has taken some, creative liberties with the source material, like any good TV show that's adapting a book should do, because TV shows and books are two different mediums. The story structure, the story type, does not overlap. As much as people think that a book can be a movie or can be a TV show, it really can't. You can pick elements of the story in a novel and make it a movie or make it a TV show, but you can't faithfully and 100% faithfully adapt a novel into a movie or a TV show, because novels are meant to be read over a period of time in multiple sittings and at your own leisure. A movie and even a TV show to a smaller extent are designed to be a single sitting, a beginning, middle, and end in one viewing experience over the course of 2 hours or an hour or half an hour if it's a sitcom. But whatever it is, there's a finite window when you're watching a TV show or a movie. There is a much longer and leisurely model for when you're reading a book. And so anyone who complains that the book is never as good as the movie and the movie sucks or the TV show sucks because the book was awesome, well, that's all well and good. The books might be awesome. I haven't read them. I need to. I don't read much just because I don't sleep much, and I prefer sleeping over reading if I had the choice. Because a TV show's a TV show, certain story elements don't work in a show versus a book. And I'm not going to get into that in full. I could talk for hours about why I think it's ridiculous to split a movie into two parts, because we have to include every little detail of a book, even though the first part of the movie totally sucks and the second part is the thing we wanted to see in the first place. But I digress. The big problem that I've had with Game of Thrones this whole season is it just, and again, totally acknowledging the fact that all of this has come from a book that's been written way before the show began, so I get it, and I totally understand it. But in terms of a TV show, remember, we have to treat the TV show not as a book, but as a show and as its own entity. So I'm criticizing the TV show, not the books. And I'm glad we can make that separation, because I'm about to say this season sucked. It was terrible. And not from a story perspective, and granted there were some just fucking weird things that happened in this season, but just from when you look at the first 4 seasons that we've had, we've identified who the characters are, who we care about, which is really important. As story consumers, we need characters that we can identify with and that we can root for. And if we don't have a character that we can root for, what's the point? And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. Is my point is, what's the point? Why do we watch Game of Thrones when we know that it doesn't matter what anyone does because they can just be killed off whatever. And I get it that that's part of like their shtick, right? That's part of their thing. It's like, we can kill off whoever you want. You will never know until you watch the next episode of Game of Thrones. We get that that's like the thing that they do. And yeah, it was kind of funny at first. Like, oh, shit, they killed Ned Stark. But wait, it's Sean Bean. He always dies. Okay, I guess I'm okay with that because that kicked off season 2, 3, and 4 of an epic story. And you had your factions all fighting this war. The game, if you will, was a result of Ned Stark's death. And so that kicked off the larger story. And season 1 was a great introduction to the world. You have to start small before you can get big and slowly add elements. But, I mean, starting with season 2, we saw Daenerys finally come into her own and be the queen. We saw Stannis, the Manus, become a thing. They introduced him in season 2. We followed Jon Snow. I don't remember what happened at the end of season 1 with Jon Snow, but we followed him enough to know that, like, okay, he's going to be a guy. And Tyrion. And Tyrion at that point was, the point is, what's the point? You know, why did we spend all of this season and all of last season getting to know Jon Snow, getting to follow him from being the bastard of Winter. I mean, that's my favorite part about Game of Thrones, just being able to say bastard all the time, because bastard is a fun word to say. Like, you gargle it in the back of your throat. It's bastard. We followed Jon Snow from the beginning, and we got to Castle Black, and he took the oath of the Night's Watch, and we get it. And this is leading somewhere. And then slowly we built in the magic sword that he carries. It's like Valyrian steel and invincible or something. We built in his connection to the wildlings. We spent almost a whole season with him not being in the Night's Watch, where he was kind of lost in the woods, and you know nothing, Jon Snow. Like, that lasted like a whole year, right? We had this massive epic battle in the Night's Castle Black when the White Walkers invade. But now we get to here, and like, what's the point? Why do we care if he's gonna die? Why did you put us as the audience through this whole story if he's gonna die? Why did you invent you invented an entire new battle sequence that never happened in the books, that was awesome, and totally revived yourself, in my book at least, as a good season of television, because up until that episode, everything sucked, but you invented this crazy epic battle. We learned that Jon Snow's sword can kill the White Walkers, that Valyrian steel that can kill the White Walkers, and you made us care about his mission. But why? What's the point if you were gonna kill him? Like, why couldn't you have focused more on, I don't know, what the fuck Peter Baelish is up to? He's not gonna die anytime soon. Why can't we focus on him? If Jon Snow was gonna die, if you knew he was gonna die, why waste all of this season with him? Why did we sit through all the boring politics of Castle Black and of the Night's Watch if he's gonna die, if you're gonna kill him, and it's gonna become irrelevant anyway? And the same goes for Stannis. We spent 3 seasons watching Stannis do these things, and we saw him in the beginning adopt this like creepy fire witch lady religion, and we followed him on his journey to build this army and eventually do the thing that he's about to do. And yeah, he prematurely tried to fight King's Landing, and Tyrion kicked his ass, and okay, fine, whatever. But now we spent this entire season with him on the road doing this thing and fighting this war and building the army and getting bigger and stopping at the Night's Watch, getting the wildlings, doing all this stuff. I mean, you were literally setting us up for like one of the most epic battle sequences of the entire series, because for like the first time in years, the political power was about to be shifted. You know, you were about to make a really big change in the landscape of the world. And then in less than 2 episodes, you destroy half his army by Ramsay, which I don't know how the fuck he did that, because oh yeah, just give me 20 of your best men and we're gonna go do this, and I have no real world battle experience, but just give me 20 of your men and we'll be fine. And they sneak in and like blow up half the world. They do that. He kills his kid, which is like, it sucks. But then the next day everyone's gone. So he's down to like 25% of his army, and he goes and he marches in, and it was going to be the epic siege. We're here, we're going to Winterfell, we're going to fight, and we're going to take what's ours. They do that, and you can't even put the battle in on screen. Like, you actually had to phone in the battle, this fight between the Boltons and the Baratheons. I mean, this was the one thing, the one through line of this entire series, of this entire season, that you were teasing us about, that you were telling us, and you were laying the groundwork and promising us that we were going to see this fight and someone was going to die. The fight's going to happen and he's going to die. And like, just what's the point? Because you didn't show the battle, you didn't show the fight. You set up your hero Stannis to be the menace, and then right before you get to show him into what it's like, you're leveling up your video game character, and then right before you go to the final boss, you just reset the game. You went to the Water Temple and used the wrong key in the wrong door and had to like start over at the Deku Tree all over again. That's exactly what you did with Stannis' storyline, because you kind of put him back to where he started at like nothing, and then you kill him, and you didn't even kill him. You didn't even give him this big epic death. You just didn't show the battle, which I've already said, but B, you kill him off screen. We don't even see him die. We just see what's her face, whose name I can never remember. No offense to her. Her character's amazing. I love her character. I just can't remember her name. She just goes like this, like Link, like ah, and we don't even see what happens. So what's the point? Daenerys. What's the point? For 4 years, we've been watching her develop as a character and grow up and mature and learn how to be a leader and be surrounded by these people who care about her and want to see her succeed. And oh yeah, give her 3 dragons, which in the beginning of season 1, these things were like the most powerful beings that ever have walked the earth are the dragons. And when we learned about her and her family, the magic in this world are these dragons. And everything else is like man and swords and death, but these dragons are real. I know, Daenerys, you're the mother of dragons. No, she's not. She's just a girl who happens to have a pet dragon who doesn't really give a shit about her. She has 2 others locked up in a cage because as soon as we start to get to the fun part of her storyline, we have to pull the reins back. No, we're doing too much with this. We have to start over again. We can't use the secret power up that we just got to fight the bad guys because it's too easy. Whatever the reason is, what's the point? If she has the dragons, why doesn't she use them? If you're gonna establish her character as the girl with the dragons, and we don't ever get to see the dragons, what's the point in the dragons being there? What's the point in being the mother of dragons if you're not the mother of dragons? I mean, that's the reason why Batman 3, why Dark Knight Rises sucked. Because you have Batman. If you're not going to let Batman be Batman, what's the point in being Batman? You know, if you're going to take away everything that it is about Batman that makes Batman Batman and make him learn how to be Batman again, what's the point in even being Batman? That could have just been any movie about terrorists that take over New York City and just some guy that has to learn some kung fu to like save the world. That's the problem. It's like, what's the point? We're setting up these storylines, cash in on the storyline. I mean, that's just how a TV show should work. If you're going to serialize a show where every episode has to build off the next episode in order to advance the story, if you never get to the plateau, if you never get to the top of the ladder before you move on to the next ladder to go higher, why did you even climb this distance in the first place if you were just going to like jump down and then climb this one? You know, so I don't know. I think I've recorded this video like 2 or 3 times now because I just don't have a good way of fathoming just what to say. Being dramatic for the sake of drama is bad. Drama should come from the characters and their decision-making process and how that and the consequences of those decisions, not just from some random act of God, some deus ex machina that's going to come in and just upset the balance of power. You know, if Stannis killing his daughter was the key to saving the world, fantastic. I mean, that's a terrible thing that he has to live with. If he had to kill his daughter in order to be the king, and then he's the king, and he wins the battle, and it's like, wow, I'm the king, but fuck, I killed my daughter, that's engaging, and that's dramatic. But if you use a tool which you established 2 years prior, and in the beginning of Season 2, it's this King's Blood is a powerful thing, and we can do our bidding with King's Blood in our hands, and you establish that, and whether it was tropey or not, whatever it is, it worked in that scenario. And then you try to bring it back because you're like, oh shit, we're stuck with this. We've established this thing that worked once, and now it can't really work in this scenario, but that's kind of our only option because we've just written ourselves in circles, and every time we'd make progress, we set ourselves 2 steps backwards. So if this is our only option, this trope that we kind of don't, it's square peg into round hole, but we're going to do it. If you're going to do that, if you're going to make it work, then make it work. What's the point in bringing back a story element that we kind of were hoping to forget about, the whole like vagina shadow thing? What's the point in bringing that back if you're not going to cash in on bringing it back? Because I mean, it's really blowing my mind that it's like, oh, you did this terrible thing, and now we can go to war. But wait, we can't go to war, and we suck, and we lose anyway. What was the point in that dramatic killing the daughter scene? We could have done without that. Gone straight to war, still lost, and be killed off screen, and I wouldn't care. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I don't know what I think about Season 6 of Game of Thrones. HBO's got some real explaining to do in the eyes of the fans because, I mean, whether or not it happened in the books or not, you know, the books, they've already established that the books go this way, the TV show goes that way, and we've established that you have to treat the books and the adaptation of those books as 2 different worlds. And the way it works for television is that we have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a satisfying resolution. Satisfying does not mean it has to be a good thing. Dramas and tragedies. Romeo and Juliet is a satisfying ending that ended very bad for the main characters. They killed themselves. They're dead in the end, just like Jon Snow is dead, and Stannis is dead. But those were satisfying endings because it fulfilled the promise that we were given in the beginning. I mean, in the beginning, in the prologue of Romeo and Juliet, we're told that they're going to die, that they're star-crossed lovers and they're going to die. We're told that. We are promised, this will happen. And it happens. And it's sad, but it's satisfying. In Game of Thrones, Season 5, we were promised Stannis and the Boltons were going to fight. And Stannis was going to win. Because obviously Stannis... it's Stannis and Ramsay. It's like Stannis is going to win. We were promised that Stannis was going to make a resolution from someone who was a cold-hearted, my way ruler, and he was going to learn to love his family again. We were promised that. And we saw that a little bit in that one scene where he's like, you are what's-the-face Baratheon, princess of the realm, and you're my daughter. And we saw that scene. And then he's dead. And she's dead. And they're all dead. We were promised that Jon Snow was going to be the leader that we knew he deserved to be, and was going to finally be the leader in the eyes of his brothers that we knew he all deserved to be. And that he was going to fight he was going to fight them, the White Walkers. We discovered he's the one person on the planet that can fight the White Walkers, and now he's dead. So, once again, what is the point, HBO? If you are going to do this to us, the audience, if you are going to promise us something and not deliver on something, then what is the point of us watching your show? Because I'm going to go to sleep because I have work in the morning, and there's no point in staying up. And what's the point in staying up and talking to you if I'm debating a pointless point? I might just go read the books now in 2 years when I'm out of film school and have a life again. So until then, I'm Zach Morrison, and if you're watching until right now, I thank you a lot, and B, be sure to share your thoughts on Game of Thrones with us at We Have a Show. Use the hashtag We Have a Show. Tweet us at We Have a Show. We have one more week for submissions. I promise we will be back next week with a full desk. I won't be wearing a t-shirt. We will do the show again next week. So until then, as always, do it live. And just like The Sopranos, just like the final episode, don't stop.